Hi everybody, this is Karak with ACG, and today is Destiny, what might have been. There was once a dream that was Destiny. You could only whisper it. Anything more than a whisper, and Destiny fans' hearts would vanish. It was so fragile. Today we go into the Wayback Machine to take a look at Bungie's Destiny, and always remember, this isn't about saying a game sucks. This is about discussing a game not meeting its full expected, promised, and ultimately PR-driven potential. Up first, as always, is the promise. Hints of Destiny began as early as 2009 with ODST mysteries and posters hidden throughout that game, a series of poorly placed and ultimately sort of sad attempts to pretend they weren't dropping hints continued until February 2013 when they finally told people that the name of the game would be Destiny, then promptly did what could retroactively be called the most embarrassingly misnamed event of all time when they decided to do an event at that year's GDC called Building a Brave New World, and where they actually discussed story design. We can only assume that is around the day Destiny's story disappeared, because on July 17th of 2014, the beta arrived and people began to wonder what exactly was going on. The signs were there, but every worry was almost expertly handled with either a blasé, oh, you have no idea just how cool the other stuff is, to don't worry, this is all placeholder stuff. Then it was released. And it wasn't all placeholder. It was bigger than the beta, more people were playing it, it had shooting, but it also had a good deal of the same issues the beta had, and though fun and worth a purchase, there was something rotten in Kislev. Because Destiny, the game that promised us guilty spark in a bottle mixed with battling enemies to and fro across various planets engaged in an epic story, their words, not mine, while constantly leveling up loot at some point, forgot the gamers' expectations were set high, about as high as a game coming from a company that made Halo could be. You see, most people don't live in a three-currency state and want a buck to equal a buck, but instead as you level up, suddenly the world changes, armor numbers blur into light, and you realize you're playing the same few multiplayer maps or quests or grinding so that you can stand in line at the special Uber shopkeeper on the weekends in hopes to buy a weapon so you can go and battle with enemies to and fro to get a different kind of currency so that you can, well, you get the picture. Destiny wasn't all bad. The shooting was at times very fun and yet also anemic, and the AI was a warbling beast that offered challenge at the rarest of times. Gone are some of those issues, but if you have the expansions only. But do you? Because depending on the type of the fan you are of Destiny, you may, and you may not. There are three types of Destiny fans now. The hordes who have all the expansions and continue to play and like what they got. The semi-part-timers, those who check in and sometimes feel a bit lost since the game piecemeals its expansions with its main content at the most uneven of paces. And then those who thought Destiny would be the shining star that it promised. And though burned, they occasionally show up, look around, and maybe revisit a story mission or two, then die on a PvE boss with no checkpoint and remember that they have something more fun to do, like shoving matchsticks into their toenails and lighting it on fire. And of course, all this is coming from somebody who enjoyed Destiny enough to rate it a buy. However, when you think about it, Destiny was supposed to be so big it would unravel the way we play shooters and MMOs alike. So much content it would take weeks, though they never mentioned that that would be because some awesome Uber salesman rotated his goods like an abuser rotates which side of the face they hit you on, or that for a good portion of the game's initial release window, some prick thought it would be funny to give you random shit and loot drops you couldn't use after a 2-hour battle busting a giant boss that you beat by hiding behind a pillar just wider than your body while he attacked it without sidestepping. Perfectly cut and edited videos, obviously created by gamers for gamers, faked that we had an almost open world to explore and planets to go to, and then someone let reality in through the door and content was locked off for expansions, or better yet, never to be heard from again unless someone glitched into it. The PR was in full bore and organized to a well-lubed machine of bending over and taking it. And in one of the most distasteful moves in a very long time, random forum users began to pop up, never seen before, to discuss the depth of the game and to effectively control the message. Sadly, however, the same well-lubed systems could not be claimed about the particulars of the game itself. Disorganized to the extreme, Destiny was an MMO with very few MMO tools a game like that should have, and it took the term MMO and used it as loosely as Bobby Kotick uses the term game fan, with little regard for the core meaning, and really even less respect. But hey, at least we have ships we can fly around. Oh no, we don't. We just have customizable loading screens. And also, the game told an incredibly short story of a dude killing other dudes while being followed by a floating robot thingy. And if that sounds about as unoriginal as you can imagine from the guys who made a small indie game called Halo, just remember that there's also player versus player to keep you busy. Oh yes, the saving grace. You see, nothing is as infuriating to a gamer when they're interested in a game's promised and well-publicized story that to be told that despite the uncomfortable fact of failure around that story and that content, the real reason to get the game was the PvP. And in some ways, actually, those people are right. Bungie did what many game companies do and split the armor types between PvE and PvP because that seemed to be even more humorous to them with the odd loot tables that ravaged gamers' fun meters by throwing a purple at your feet, only to find out it was a cleverly disguised blue for someone else. And then of course there's strikes and raids. Well, since you can't find anyone random, you need to make sure all your pals are on at the exact same time so you can play even though it's an online console, which means there's a good chance you're going to be spread to the cosmos of time zones anyway. And for some odd reason, Bungie was asleep when they thought of multiplayer team-up options, and someone in their wonderful buttermint of brain power thought that removing a randoms feature would rock, not forcing it and not allowing someone to have the choice, but removing it completely. Because just like a lot of things in Destiny, it made sense not to make sense, though thankfully patches have rectified some of these issues. But this video is called What Might Have Been and not what is maybe closer to what might have been, but not actually might have been, because it's way after the original might have been time frame. You see, after a couple hours with the game, a game that actually was enjoyable for many, you couldn't usually leave it though without thinking to yourself, this is all just a bit confusing. Because in the end, a newcomer's left bereft of many of the answers they may have had much of the game been better planned from the onset. And lo and behold, the consistent questions of what do I do here and how do I change this to that or what stat matters, it fluctuates from often to damn near homicidal inducing levels as people talk in codes, dropping gun names like their titles and locations and abbreviations so sinisterly short they might as well just be different snorting sounds of direction if you don't know what someone's talking about. And then one day I came into Destiny and leveled up and my armor was now all about light points without so much as a whisper to the oncoming change. And really that is Destiny, an Alzheimer's ridden patient but a rich one, still visited by many, though perhaps even they don't know why, perhaps to kiss the ring of the fallen king, or perhaps just enjoying their time before its crippled body fails, or maybe even almost as confused as the freaking thing that they're visiting, counting off who has what expansions and what it offers and where the hell is that fucked up salesman today. And still no new planets. In fact, aside from some story missions, the game's expansions have been notoriously stingy, like a digital version of Scrooge McDuck promising you better and better stuff while swimming around in a bank vault of your credit card bills. But it will be a long, long time before the game does die, because another expansion is coming. Another place that was probably already glitched into by hackers that contains another couple skins for a weapon here or there. Or perhaps some new locations. Or perhaps it redefines the rules. Maybe it changes the loot output again to make it make even more sense. Shockingly, maybe it even makes the game kind of fun by continuing to fix the grind. But you see, really, that's the crux of these videos. By now, many won't care, and it's not that no one plays, and it's not that few play, it's that far fewer play that could have if the game had delivered on all that it had promised, or even a lot more. For many, it delivered a competent shooter, though wanting in many aspects, and competent and wanting are not what a company wants to hear about their game unless they have a DLC plan, which Activision does, a plan so insidious that it continues to promise you what you should have got in the first place if you just keep doubling down, keep feeding money into the beast that's giant salivating maws actually just Bobby's back pocket with his wallet out. At some point, even if Destiny becomes the game it was supposed to be, the movement has passed, and that is, in and of itself, one of the saddest things about Destiny and currently about this entire game generation. Its destiny was to be the Halo killer, now with added multiplayer across a various facet of different designs. Instead, it turned into a very, very popular brute force. Liked by many, but a flawed game, and nowhere near its full potential, even if it's making money hand over fist. So it's a lot like Alistair Overeem in that way. So that's it for me. If you like the video, hit like. If you dislike it, hit dislike. If you agree, go ahead and say why. If you disagree, feel free to say why as well. Keep it nice in the comments, and peace out.